The HOA president, Linda, reported my Batmobile as an eyesore and then had it towed. She had no idea I was a federal agent or that the car was packed with surveillance gear for an active case. Now she's under federal investigation. Her HOA is being sued into the ground, and I'm just warming up. No, this isn't a movie. This is what happens when a power-tripping suburban dictator picks a fight in the wrong neighborhood. Freeze frame. Yep, that's me. The guy whose private well Linda illegally tapped to water her roses. What did I do? I flushed her system with sewage, and trust me, that was only the beginning. You're probably wondering, wait, how do you even pull that off legally and how does she not notice? Let's rewind 3 months. I'd just moved into a cookie-cutter suburban neighborhood 30 minutes outside the city. You know the type: fake ponds, dog waste stations every few yards, and neighbors in matching tracksuits who take jogging way too seriously. I wasn't there for the charm. I was undercover, running surveillance on a white-collar real estate laundering scheme. Don't ask which agency, I won't tell you. Just know the badge is legit, and the stakes were sky-high. For my cover, I needed something flashy but quirky, so I went with a full-scale 1989 Batmobile replica. Kids adored it, adults rolled their eyes, and nobody suspected its fiberglass shell hid high-res cameras, a recording suite, and encrypted drives under the hood. It wasn't just a car, it was my mobile command center. The Batmobile lived in my garage behind a biometric lock. I drove it sparingly, just enough to sell the eccentric persona, but even parked, it turned heads. That's when Linda stormed into the picture. I met her on my second day while tweaking a security camera. Her heels clicked on the pavement like a judge's gavel. She introduced herself: Linda, HOA president, lifelong busybody, and apparently allergic to fun. No handshake, just a squint at the Batmobile through my half-open garage door. That's not street legal, she snapped. Does it even comply with our aesthetic standards? I considered lying, dodging, or tossing a smoke grenade and bolting. Instead, I deflected. It's for charity events, Make-A-Wish stuff. Kids love it. She wasn't impressed. Out came a notepad, like she was about to ticket me under some imaginary law. We can't have that thing tanking property values. It's an eyesore. I'm reporting it. Over the next few weeks, Linda became my personal shadow. She patrolled with binoculars like a Botoxed hawk finding someone for a September Halloween skeleton, scolding a retired vet over his too bold flag, even trying to ban wind chimes as noise pollution. But her real obsession was the Batmobile. It started with a passive-aggressive note on my door about non-compliant vehicles, then escalated to an official-looking citation slid under my mat. Problem was, my property wasn't under HOA control. My lot was just outside their boundary, per the deed I'd actually read. I called her out at a community meeting while she droned on about hedge heights. You don't have jurisdiction over my land, I said, loud and clear. She blinked, laughed nervously, and cooed. Oh, honey, we're all part of the community, no exceptions. I wasn't asking for special treatment. I just wanted her off my back. Things got stranger. Random city notices piled up: vehicle checks, noise complaints, the Batmobile hadn't moved, even a sanitation violation for a trash can left out too long. All traced back to Linda. Then, one Friday, I came home to an empty Garagino break-in, just a towing notice signed by HOA President Linda M. Carter. My surveillance gear, my drives, my entire operation gone. She'd jeopardized a federal case over a petty grudge. I called the tow yard, listed. They played dumb and hung up twice. This wasn't just HOA nonsense, Anna Maria. It was trespassing, theft, and tampering with government property. I filed a report that hour. My agency pulled backup footage from a hidden camera in a mailbox. There was Linda, smirking as the tow truck hauled my car away. My cover was toast, the op stalled, and my team was livid. That night, I couldn't sleep, replaying her smug grin on my monitor. She thought she could bully me out. She didn't know she'd just made herself a target. The next morning, a neighbor texted, "Did you know Linda's been siphoning your well water for her rose beds?" I checked my irrigation logs: 47 fan tram usage spike since I'd moved in. Subtle, but obvious once I looked. Security footage confirmed it. Linda directing her landscaper, a guy in a certified HOA muscle shirt, to tap my private well during a drought restriction. That's a crime. I didn't confront her. Instead, I rerouted my water through a backup tank, mixed in raw sewage and compost runoff, and flushed her line. By noon, her roses were a stinking, wilted disaster. Her lawn looked like a septic experiment gone wrong. She shrieked about a chemical attack, clutching a dead flower like Evy Denke. The city inspector traced the hose to my well, nailed her for utility theft, and fined her on the spot. While she played VY Tim, I compiled a dossier: photos, footage, neighbor statements. My original sting was on hold, but my gear still worked. New target, Linda. I started asking neighbors, has Linda ever fined you unfairly? The floodgates opened. One got hit for a porch flag, another for a non-compliant gnome, a third for a mailbox identical to Linda's made-up rules, all documented. Patterns emerged. Same landscaper, same tow company, same loyal HOA cronies. This wasn't petty, it was a racket. I handed the file to a buddy, Mike, still in field ops. He grinned. This isn't just a busybody of it, you got a mini crime boss. He passed it up the chain, and I kept digging. Linda doubled down, slapping me with a violation for overly dark window tint during an emergency meeting. She pushed a vague new rule to fine non-traditional vehicles outside HOA turf, retroactive justification for stealing my car. I stood up, introduced myself, full name, ex-prosecutor, current Fed, VY Tim, of her theft. Then I asked, Linda, care to explain why HOA checks go to your cousin's landscaping gig? The room exploded. She banged a gavel nobody gave her, but it was over. Neighbors later slipped me forged election docs, inflated dues records enough to bury her. Within days, her cousin's tow yard got raided. The HOA faced a federal probe. Linda strutted around oblivious, but the noose tightened. Then came the subpoena: financials, emails, everything. Her patrols stopped. Her roses died. Her dog stayed inside. At a desperate, open house, to reclaim her image, no one showed except me, sipping coffee. The HOA charter was soon suspended. Her reign ended. The Batmobile returned, pristine, parked where she'd see it daily. She tried one last complaint, called it intimidating. The city ignored her. Court day arrived. Linda faced charges: fraud, theft, tax evasion. Her cousins and nephews' businesses collapsed under audits. Bank records showed HOA cash flowing to her accounts. Neighbors testified decades of her nonsense laid bare. She tried blaming McClain I'd framed her. The judge shut her down. I took the stand, calmly tying her actions to my disrupted case. Guilty on all counts. As she was cuffed, the room cheered. Her empire was dust, and I smiled, thinking, never underestimate a neighborhood or a Batmobile.